Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Accent Training Podcast. My name is Pat. I'm your personal American accent coach. I was having a great chat with a listener yesterday who decided to take a big step and become a new student of mine. And he was telling me how over his previous flight from India to the United States, he downloaded like 100 accent training podcast episodes and just listened for hours and hours on end, practicing his pronunciation. Something that I really admire. And so for those of you who are on airplanes now or preparing for your flight, I want to focus on some of the airplane terminology. 10 words which will be useful for you as you're passing through the airport, getting on the plane, checking your luggage. And 5 of these words have a common denominator, being that there's one of those Y glide sounds, that Y release in the middle of it, which may not be easy to identify if you don't know to watch for it. Because this is a priority sound for you to be developing. And priority is the word that we're starting with today. You may hear priority in many different contexts, right? Priority boarding. If you got a first class or business class ticket. People like to be prioritized on airplanes. And I want you to notice a couple of things about how I pronounce priority. In the middle of that word where we have that I, there's no break between the I and the O. I don't go priority, but I connect them with one of those Y glides. Priority. And on the ending of that word, that T isn't getting a regular T sound, is it? It's getting a flap T. Itty. Real quick and quiet. Priority. So let's go through a couple of those priority phrases once again so you can keep an ear out for them. Priority boarding. Passengers with priority boarding may now proceed to board through lane 1. Priority check-in. If you are a priority passenger, please proceed to the priority check-in counter. Priority assistance. Passengers requiring priority assistance may board now. So we're off to a strong start. How about another word with a Y? How about carry-on? Carry-on. Now the Y in there may be a little clearer for you because it's actually spelled, right? Carry-on. However, the difficulty that a lot of folks run into is using that Y to connect the words carry and on. If your native language doesn't connect your speech like this, and you wouldn't likely glide between the words like carry on. However, just like priority, carry on can release that Y sound, yan, to connect your speech seamlessly. Sometimes that you might be hearing this is if they say, please make sure your carry-on bag fits in the overhead compartment. Or, your carry-on bag must comply with airline size and weight restrictions. I hate it when they do that. Oh my God. And then they try to charge you at the last second. This is what we call a hustle. You know, they're just trying to squeeze a little money out of you. Or they may check your carry-on bag at the gate, right? They may say larger carry-on bags may need to be checked at the gate. As in, we don't have a lot of space on the plane, but we can check your bag under the plane for you at no extra cost. That's something I usually go for. That way I don't have to think about my bag when I'm getting off the plane. I don't have to try pulling it out of the overhead compartment, wrestling with it. If they offer to check it, I say, go right ahead. Thank you very much. Now, another word that I said just a moment ago, that's a useful one, because this is where you're going to do all of your walking on the plane, is the aisle. This is another word that has one of those Y sounds, one of those Y glides that you wouldn't catch if you didn't know it were there. You might say aisle or aisle. But if you add that Y glide in there, aisle, you'll say the word exactly the way that Americans are listening for. Maybe you have an aisle seat. It's not bad if you got to get up and go to the washroom, the lavatory, which we'll talk about later. Then you're certainly thankful to be in an aisle seat. You also get your on-flight meal or snacks first, and you have an easier time waving down any flight attendants. So it does have its advantages. You may hear the flight attendant say passengers seated in an aisle seat should keep their arms and legs out of the walkway. The key to pronouncing aisle as clearly as possible is getting that Y glide in the middle. I can't stress that enough. Aisle will communicate to Americans just fine. Another thing that they might tell you about the aisle is they may ask everybody to get out of the aisle if you hit a little turbulence. That's right, turbulence. Again, notice I'm not saying turbulence, turbulence. But I've got a Y glide in there once again. Turbulence. There's no Y in the spelling. Just like aisle, just like priority. I mean, priority has a Y on the ending, but not where we're hearing the Y sound. Prior, aisle. Turbulence. Now, don't stress yourself out about the turbulence. I know folks get a little stressed, but it's bound to happen. And I don't know why it happens, but all I know is if you're feeling turbulence, you're still in the air. That's where you're supposed to be. It's all good. So don't stress about the turbulence. Take advantage of it to strengthen your American English habits and repeat after me. Folks, we may be experiencing a little turbulence. Please clear the aisles and put on your seatbelt. You see, when the captain says it like that, it's not so bad. It's like, oh, all right. As long as the captain's cool about it, I don't got a problem. If you're a captain and you're listening, just know that we are depending on your voice remaining calm over the radio. So pronounce those words clearly and calmly. There's no need to we've got turbulence. But just take it easy. Take a simple breath in. We've got some turbulence. Power that vowel, put the Y glide in there, and everyone will remain calm. Now, once you make it through the turbulence, and the plane does land safely, many of you listening are going to have a layover. You'll join us back on the ground for a few hours before you take off again to your destination. A layover. Switching from one plane to another. Now, if you've been listening closely up till this point, then you know what I'm going to say about layover, right? There's another one of those Y's in there. Layover. Now, my favorite airport for a layover is Atlanta Airport. Atlanta, Georgia. That is the most welcoming and friendly airport anywhere in the world that I've seen. I mean, I haven't been to most airports in the world, but that's been the friendliest one across the United States or Canada or Mexico that I've seen. I was having a terrible day once, actually. I was going from Mexico back to Canada back in 2016, and I was really sad because I was leaving, my girlfriend at the time, Estefania, she's my wife now, and I was leaving my friends behind, and I was just, leaving Mexico. I love this country. I didn't want to leave, but I had run out of money, so I had to leave to go make some money. And I had a layover in Atlanta, Georgia. And I mean, I'm a chatty guy. I'm not shy. I'll walk up to strangers and start a conversation. If you ever happen to see me in public, feel free to come say hello. And I just had some of the best airport conversations with, whether it was the security there, just the workers, the people around there, the maintenance people. And it just really picked me up and it got me back home. No more tears were shed. I was able to enjoy the rest of my trip. And I really feel it was thanks to that southern hospitality that I got in the Atlanta airport. So I recommend to anybody, if you're traveling and you've got to book a layover on your trip, check out Atlanta. I found the people to be particularly kind and welcoming there and very, very friendly. And then actually my next favorite place for a layover is Puerto Vallarta. Beautiful airport. You can step right out, go get some sun, grab a drink in the 7-Eleven outside if you like, and then it's just so easy to get back in. There aren't all the hassles that you get in these American airports. Puerto Vallarta, that's my favorite Mexican airport. All right, now the next words actually don't have that Y glide that we've been catching in all the others. Like the word itinerary. 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 Your flight schedule for the day, where you're going to be flying to, where you're going to have a layover, your itinerary. Two things I want you to catch about this word. Number one, the syllable stress. The syllable stress is in the tin part. That's the strong part of the word. You don't need to get every single letter in the word perfectly pronounced. If you do, it'll sound like itinerary, itinerary. And that may be communicated all right, but you're not listening to this podcast because you want to communicate just all right. You're here right now because you want to be the best. And so let's get that strong in the tin and weaker in everything else. Itinerary. Very good. Now the other vowels in that word are not short and choppy. I'm not saying that we only need to get I clear and every other vowel is like short and you don't really hear it. But I'm saying that they have to contrast with the I sound. Itinerary. And fade out on the end. Itinerary. Check your itinerary to confirm your flight details. Or our itinerary includes a layover in Paris. Folks, this is just a quick message to remind you to subscribe to the Accent Training Podcast. If you haven't already, you don't want to miss a second of this accent training experience. And you want to be updated whenever I've got new content out for you. So if you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe now. Or maybe they changed your itinerary at the last second. And you'd say, they changed my itinerary, so I need to rebook our meeting. Now that is a difficult word, and so you want to keep taking time to repeat it to yourself. Itinerary. itinerary. Be brave. Be bold. We're here to use the words that Americans are using. Well, another word that Americans are using is frisk. Frisk. F-R-I-S-K. This is what it's called when security pats you down. So they may say we're going to pat you down, but it's also called a frisk. Checking for the things that you're not supposed to be bringing onto the plane. Whether it's a weapon or a tube of toothpaste. You're going to be frisked, and they're going to find out what you got in your pockets. And the other thing that they check when they're not frisking you is your luggage. Luggage. Now, this word's fun because it has 3 G's in it. The first 2 G's combine to make a 1 G sound, and then the last G sounds like a J, like a J. Here's the thing. When you've got GG together in a word, the word mugger or trigger, it's going to make a G sound. However, when a GE is ending a word, it's going to make a J sound. Usually, sometimes it'll make a J sound, but we spoke about that in a way past episode. However, the J, bursting out, luggage, will serve you just fine here. They may also call it baggage. If you don't hear luggage, you'll hear baggage. I personally go with luggage, but both are commonly used, like baggage claim. Baggage, luggage, it's the same thing. And listen for these phrases when you're on the airplane. You can store your carry-on luggage in the overhead compartment. Passengers are responsible for keeping their luggage with them at all times. Make sure your luggage is within the airline's weight limit before you check in. Or you might need to say, my luggage was lost during my connecting flight. Which, if your baggage is lost, it will find its way back to you. But there may be a couple reasons about this. Number 1, you may have improperly tagged your bag. There may still be a tag on your bag from your previous trip, right? If there is, then that might be where your luggage is going. Because if you've got a sleepy luggage handler and he's not checking the tags well, he just sees the city name and he pops it onto the conveyor belt to go to that city, then that's where your bag's going to end up. Now, I know saying that has just given anxiety to a lot of you here who are on planes right now, and you're thinking, oh my God, did I forget to take a tag off my bag? Oh my God, is my bag going to be sent to Singapore? And all I can say is if your bag is on a different plane right now, just take a deep breath. There's nothing you can do about it except practice saying the words, my luggage was lost during my connecting flight. And if you're on your way to the airport right now, or if you're getting on a flight soon, make sure that you check your bag and remove any old tags that might be on there that could confuse somebody. Now, once you arrive at a destination and you go to collect your luggage, you collect it from the carousel. Carousel. Now, it's spelled like carousel. Carousel. C-A-R-O-U-S-E-L. This is another one of those words where the spelling doesn't necessarily reflect the pronunciation. Starting with that A-R, you want to get that A-er, A-er, K-er. Not just car, and not just ker, but A. Move your jaw as you pronounce that A, and you'll get the clearest American accent sound every time. K. care. And then the OU in the middle isn't pronounced as an OU. It's pronounced as a schwa. Care. Care. Carousel. Carousel. To be specific, the carousel is that machine where your bags come out and it goes around in a circle. For children, it's very tempting to climb on the carousel because it looks so much fun. But make sure that you watch your kids. Don't let them get on the carousel. They could get hurt. Now, when you're going to get your bag, you may have to go to Carousel 5, Carousel 8, Carousel 10, whatever one it is. Or they may say, make sure to give the carousel space while it's moving to avoid any accidents. Like I said, keep your kids back from that thing because they want to jump right on there. I know I did when I was a kid. I didn't jump on, but I really wanted to. Or you might have to ask someone, can you check the screen to see which carousel our luggage will arrive on? And then there's one more word that I wanted to discuss today. Not so much the pronunciation of it, but the use of it. The word lavatory. You know, the restroom, the washroom. Why is it that on a plane it's called the lavatory, but everywhere else they call it a washroom? Now again, for myself as a child, I was very confused hearing about the lavatory for my first time flying down to Disney World, because all I knew about a lavatory was that this is where scientists worked. However, that was of course a laboratory. You see, lavatory is more a British English word than an American English word. But for that reason, they use it on airplanes so that it's internationally communicated. British English is, of course, considered a standard of English for much of the world. And if someone's taking a flight, I suppose, to the United States for the first time, and they aren't familiar with the word restroom, they might go take a nap in the lavatory, right? Maybe that was an issue in the past, I don't know. But they're clearly avoiding that now by just calling it by the British English name. Lavatory. Now again, notice here, I'm getting that first A strong. La. But the second A is a schwa. A weak, quiet sound. Lavatory. The lavatory's occupied. Or there's a line in the aisle for the lavatory. And folks, that brings us to the end of our list for today. 10 words that you cannot avoid if you're traveling by air. Priority. Carry-on. Aisle. Layover. Turbulence. All with that Y glide. Yeah in the middle. Itinerary. Frisk. Luggage. Carousel. Inspection. Lavatory. Now, if you're currently on an airplane, then you are in a unique position to strengthen your American English skills, because now your brain is wired to listen for these words. We've kind of opened your language filter to absorb some new sounds, some new patterns, new linguistic information. If you don't use these words today, before you leave that airport, then that language filter is going to close up again, and you're going to see regression. You're not going to be able to remember these things. However, if you can apply even just one of these, even just aisle, or layover, You'll not only keep that language filter open, but you'll be able to expand upon it further. That's how accent training's done. That's what I do every day. And if you haven't gotten on a plane yet, if you're just preparing for your next flight, maybe you're heading out soon, then same goes for you. Take note of a couple of these words so that you can use them as you're going through the steps in the airport that we've just discussed here today. If you do that, you will be well on your way to making American accent acceleration happen. Have a good one, my friend. If you're still here, you're different. You're a 1%er, someone who follows through. And that tells me something important. You're serious about mastering your American accent. Do you want to speak English with the same clarity and confidence as in your native language? Do you want to sound more natural, make stronger impressions, and ultimately level up your career? If the answer is yes, listen closely. I have limited one-on-one coaching spots available, and they always fill up fast. With my system of training, you can count on real-time feedback, personalized exercises, and the exact strategies that top professionals use to sound clear, confident, and naturally American in key conversations. Now for you, this is going to mean confidently giving presentations, especially in front of your CEO. It also means leading meetings with authority and confidently contributing to group conversations or networking effortlessly. Now, these spots are first come, first served. And once they're gone, they're gone. If you're ready to transform your accent, don't wait. There's a link in the description of this episode. Open it up, book your free consultation call with me, and let's discuss how we can crush this together. Claim your spot now before it's too late.